my friends, and welcome back to the channel. I have done it. I have finished The Wheel of Time, 14 books in 11 months. I did it. I am so proud and so sad that it is over. I do have New Spring still to read, but for the most part, this journey is over for The Wheel of Time for me, and for the first time. I do plan on rereading this series, but it's emotional to leave it for sure. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to rank the books in my order of liking them. So this is all opinion based. Obviously, people within the Wheel of Time community all know that some of these books are really good and some of these books are not so good, but this is all based on the Wheel of Time scale. This has nothing to do with them within other book series or within other fantasy series. This is just my opinion based on this series and where I think these books rank from greatest, or actually we're gonna start from the worst to the best book of the series, in my opinion. Number 14 is book 7, Crown of Swords. So this one has a lot to do with the book. Let's rewind real quick. This is going to be extremely spoilery. If you have not read the entirety of The Wheel of Time, don't watch this video. I will be spoiling stuff. Most of it you won't understand unless you actually have read the books. So, this is extremely spoilery. Do not watch this if you have not read everything of The Wheel of Time, because it will be spoiled for you. There's just no way you can talk about these things without spoiling the books. So, play it back. So, number 14 is the 7th book in the Wheel of Time, the Crown of Swords. A Crown of Swords. I'm never gonna do that right. So, this one has a hell of a lot to do with the Bowl of the Winds. And honestly, I just didn't like anything having to do with the Bowl of the Winds. I didn't like any of that side plot that was going on. It was extremely boring, and in the end, did it really have anything to do with anything? Honestly, did it? I don't know. I mean, yes, I guess the Bowl of the Winds comes into play a little bit in the final battle, but not really. Not really, guys. It didn't. So I found that to just be extremely boring, and I just didn't like it. Sorry, I'm looking at notes because there's a lot to remember. So, Matt is being raped, people, in this book, and I hated that. I hated that he was being raped. I mean, he was being denied food and constantly berated by a woman and not allowed to, being held captive by this woman until he agreed to have sex with her. Honestly, that's rape. And it was just very annoying. And I hated it, and I hated that people were just laughing at him, and I hated that he was kind of just okay with it in the end, and I just didn't like that. That's just personally not my flavor. I don't think it didn't mess with his character at all. So I was actually happy that Tylan died. So I was glad she was murdered by the Golem, because I'm like, well, bitch, you're a rapist. So I really didn't like those things in this book. But I did like seeing this side of Rand that wanted power, that took the crown of Ilion and wanted to be king and didn't just shove it off on Elaine or somebody else. Like, he wanted that, and I liked seeing that side Rand within this, and him fighting Samael. Oh my gosh, that was such a cool battle. I really, really enjoyed that. But yeah, this is number 14 on the list. Number 13 is book 8 within the Wheel of Time, The Path of Dagger. Honestly, I don't really remember much that happened in this book. Yes, I did look up book summaries, but even then I was just like, it's a lot of standing around and planning and Bowl of the Wind shit again, and I'm just like, it's definitely a building book for the series. It's important. There are important things that happen in this. It's just boring to read about, honestly. So, I mean, still a good book, obviously. It's in the Wheel of Time, but just not my favorite, and I'm glad it was a tiny one. Okay? Book number 12 is the 10th book in the Wheel of Time, which is Crossroads of Twilight. This is obviously another very building book within the series. A lot of these middle books are that book. They're the building book. They're building up. We're building character more. We're getting ready to set up this final battle, which I don't mind. That's important to do. It's just, like I said, boring to read. This is definitely a book where Matt and Tuon start to get more of a relationship going on with one another, and I hate that relationship. Honestly, I don't really like any of the relationships within the Wheel of Time. I like Rand and Min. That's about it. That's the only relationship I enjoy. So Tuon is a character I don't like. I don't necessarily know if you're supposed to like her truly, because obviously she's promoting slavery, which is awful, and she just kind of refuses to admit that she wants slavery, and I just don't like her, and it feels weird that Matt would like her. Like, I just don't see it. I don't understand that relationship. I don't know why Matt would be into her, but the wheel weaves as the wheel wills, obviously. And Perrin has taken so long to get Fael back that I don't even care when he finally does it. I don't care when he sheathes or when he gets rid of the axe. I don't care, because I don't care about Perrin anymore, because you've taken way too long to go get your wife. You've taken just Perrin's whole side thing. I hate it. And it made me dislike Perrin so much. I am going to be doing a ranking of my characters that I like and dislike, so keep an eye out for that, because you'll hear more about Perrin in that one. And within this book, there's obviously a lot of politicking going on with Perrin and with Elaine, and I like politics in books. It really slows down the pace of the series. So it wasn't really, it definitely slows down the pace of the series. It's obviously another building book, and it just focused so much on Perrin that I just did not care. So this one was a little bit more difficult to get through. Once again, glad it was small. 11 is book 13, Towers of Midnight. There was a lot of unnecessary miscommunication in this book, especially between Egwene and Rand, because Rand decides to go to Egwene and say, hey, I'm gonna break the seals so we can let the Dark One loose so that I can finally kill him. And Egwene's like, bitch, no you ain't. And instead of, Rand taking the time to say, hey, let me explain my reasoning behind doing this, Egwene, because you're a reasonable person. You understand how this shit works. Let's just talk about this. Instead of doing that, he just leaves and just pisses her off. And obviously, Egwene's not too happy about that. Like, Rand doing that is what causes Egwene to be like this, which I understand. I would be the same way as Egwene. I'd be like, bitch, no, you're not. Because you're not explaining yourself. You're not letting the Dark One loose. Are you crazy? So that obviously was a problem in this book that I did not like. And Perrin's trial was just anything having to do with Perrin, besides him making Mjolnir. Mjolnir? Is that what it's called? Him making this hammer was so freaking cool. I loved it so much. And I'm like, where are the rest of these weapons? Like, we need more of these weapons in the Wheel of Time. That's so freaking cool. And I really loved that. And I just love the anticipation of getting to this last battle. And so this is definitely a lot lower on the list, but it is because I just felt like sometimes there was just a bit too much miscommunication, and not my favorite. It is a big chunky one. So there's obviously not a whole lot of miscommunication. Obviously this is when Egwene is getting more into her power as Armelin's seat, which is awesome. Although Gawain, need to strangle the man. Hate him a lot. Hate him a lot. No, Egwene, just be alone. You don't need this man in your life. That's how I feel. All right, the 10th book is the first book in the Wheel of Time, which is The Eye of the World. I did get this special edition because because I wanted it. So I do actually have the edition that matches all the rest of these, but I just wanted to show this one off because it's so shiny and pretty and cute. And yeah, Lan's wearing the wrong armor, but you know what? We'll get past it. We'll get past it. Most of us probably already have. So, The Eye of the World. It's the beginning. It definitely reminds you a lot of Lord of the Rings, but that's what Robert Dorn was going for, so I don't dock him for that. Like, this book, I tried to put it towards the middle because that's how I feel about it in the end, that it's definitely a middle book where we're learning along with these characters the foundation of this world and about them slowly. It is obviously a lot of information to take at the very beginning, but it is still a fantastic book and a fantastic beginning to this epic series. The stuff with The Eye of the World, I don't really, it doesn't come back up. So I don't know why we had to go there, but it's fine. We're fine. We'll deal with it. So I loved getting to meet the characters for the first time. It's a great building point and a great learning point, and learning snippets about who these characters are and what motivates them, and like it's interesting to think back on this book knowing as what happens in the end and seeing how the characters were built so well. Book number 9 is The Great Hunt, which is book 2 in the Wheel of Time. I know a lot of people put this one a lot higher. There just wasn't all that much gripping me throughout this book because it felt very much the same as the first. I don't know, it just felt very much the same, and it made me worry to read the 14 books because I was just like, are we just going to continue to have more of the same in all of these? So that was definitely interesting. The battle at the end of this one, though, is freaking awesome, obviously. I think everybody really likes the battle at the end of this one. Learning about the horn, I think, is extremely important, obviously, for the last battle. And seeing it used in action is, I think, important for the last battle, so it doesn't feel like, I was going to say a Mary Sue item, but yeah, so it doesn't feel that way, so you know exactly what you're getting when they finally do blow the horn at the end of all of this. Getting to meet Lanfear for the first time was very interesting. She's obviously very evil when you first see her. Like, I didn't even have to ask. I was just like, well, that bitch is bad. Like, why are you in this world? Like, what are you doing? And I just thought that was really funny how, like, none of the boys could see just how awful Lanfear is. The Great Hunt is a great book, just not in the favorites yet. Book number 8 is The Dragon Reborn, the 3rd book in the Wheel of Time. Obviously, the first 3 books all have the same thing going on with them. It's all of the party coming together and then breaking apart and then coming together back at the end. And this was definitely starting to worry me that the entire series was going to be like this, that we were just going to keep fighting Beelzebub all the time, or Samael or Moradin, whatever you want to call the man at this point. But in this one, why this one's ranked higher than The Great Hunt is because I love the mission that the girls are sent on to find the Black Aja. I think that was a lot of fun and a lot of good times. I really liked Perrin within this book, and this made me love Perrin a lot, which is why I do dislike him so much in the rest of the series, because this made Perrin cool and then everything else made Perrin awful. So that's just how it is. And angry Rand in this, I love it. This is definitely when Rand is trying to say that he's not the Dragon Reborn, and you barely get anything from Rand, which is a very interesting choice considering the book is called The Dragon Reborn. He has like 2 chapters. And I love that side of Rand and getting to see him like that within this book. It's fantastic. I love it. The last little battle in this where Rand fights Samael and, or Shamael, whoever it is, whatever, I don't know how to say it. When Rand fights him at the very end of this, it was freaking awesome. All I could imagine, especially when Matt is breaking into the tower to save the girls, just sees Rand like running up the side of the building, and all I could think about was just anime just running vertically up the side of this building, and it looks so anime to me when it was happening, and that's just how I think about it, and I just love it. It's probably one of the better battles in this series, and I love it so much. It's freaking cool, guys. It's freaking cool. Number 7 is the 9th book in the Wheel of Time, which is Winter's Heart. Okay. And I know people are like, really? Winter's Heart? That high, huh? Well, I understand. I hated most of everything in this book. Most of it's irrelevant to the rest of the series, but it's so high on my list because of what Rand and Nynaeve do. The cleansing of the taint is just so... I loved it so much. I love that scene so much. It's so vivid to me. And I know that's at the very end of the book, and I know that nothing else really matters, but that was just so impactful to me and such a game changer in this series that it has to be this high for me. I loved that scene. I loved everything about it. That's why this is so high. I loved that. I loved it so much. It was so fantastic. All right, number 6 is the 11th book in the Wheel of Time, Knife of Dreams. So, Perrin finally rescues Fael in this book. Thank the fucking heavens that is over with. I think he finally rescues her in that. Whatever, it doesn't even matter. If finally I don't have to listen to that shit. I don't have to listen to the knots in the rope anymore. I don't. Thank the Lord. Baby Jesus. I loved the battle where he's actually fighting to get Fael, and that was pretty crazy. And Aram turning on him because of the prophet, which, what did the prophet have to do with anything? It didn't even matter. I guess he got some dragons sworn together, but guys, okay, whatever. We're moving past all of Perrin's strange plotline. I hated it. This is when Nynaeve sends Lan off to finally do his duty, his kingly duty, and does such a Nynaeve thing of being truthful. Like, I'm gonna send you there, but I'm gonna send you really far away from that, so that you have to take help, because I've made you promise you will take help. And I loved that with Nynaeve. I really thought that was really funny, and that was just such a Nynaeve thing to do. And is honestly one of the last awesome things you see Nynaeve do in the series, because after that she kind of feels forgotten about towards the end of the series, and that really sucked. So that was a bummer, but I liked seeing that final thing that she does. And obviously this is still a building book to the final end of the series. It is a lot more exciting because of the wonderful development that is done in this with Rand. This is obviously when Rand loses his hand to Cimarog, which was a totally crazy scene, and I just thought it was nuts that he loses his hand. Like, I was like, oh shit, I really didn't know that was gonna happen. So I really enjoyed Knife of Dreams. Also dealing with this side of Rand, this power-hungry side of Rand, isn't quite in control of himself or even his power still in the 11th book, and him just working towards that and like maybe finally trying to get over this, I gotta be the fucking dragon. So I love Rand's development over this series. All right, number 5 is the 5th book in the Wheel of Time, and that is Fires of Heaven. So, Moraine's sacrifice, dive tackling Lanfear, is why this book is so high. I freaking loved that. It was super emotional. I knew she wasn't going to be dead forever. I knew that. I think that's not that crazy to think that she's not dead forever. That was a very emotional scene, and I think it really pushes Rand in a growing direction, even though maybe at first it's not for the best. But it does force him to grow. It does force him to learn to use his power and to be in control and to be a leader, which is what he needs, which is why Moraine had to go. But her sacrifice was just amazing to me. Yeah, that's pretty much why this is so high. And I just liked this book. Just thought it was good. And yeah, Moraine's sacrifice. It's so sad. All right, number 4 is The Gathering Storm, book 12 in the Wheel of Time. Obviously, I don't know why I keep saying Wheel of Time. Obviously, it's in the Wheel of Time. That's what we're talking about here. So, this book is what truly made me fall in love with Egwene. I had liked her throughout the series the entire time. I always thought she was a very interesting character, and I liked where her path was going, but her determination, her tenacity, her strength over everything this girl has been through. She's been enslaved. She's been talked down to. She's been tried to be controlled. She's gained control. She's been taken down once again to be a novice and fighting every inch of her body to get to the Armelin seat. Egwene is just an amazing character. I love her so much, and this book sealed the deal on that. When she is fighting the Shanshan when they are trying to take over Tarvalin, and just kicking ass and taking names. I love Egwene. Love her, and obviously what happens to Elida was hilarious and well deserved on that woman's part, let's be honest. But Egwene's badassery, love it so much. If Gawain was not in the picture, she would be so much better. It would be so much better. Gawain just shouldn't exist. Just kill Gawain. Don't worry, that already happened. Man, Egwene is just amazing to me. And the revelation of Varen being Black Aja and her brownness coming out because she wanted to learn about the Black Aja. She wasn't actually evil. She wanted to learn about the Blacks and figure out who is involved in it, and her doing that and her revelation to Egwene about it, and that just whole scene is just hits you right here. And it's sad to think about, but that was so freaking cool, and just what Egwene does with it is amazing. And this book is so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. So we are in the top 3 books. Can anyone guess the order that they are going to be in? Number 3 is Lord of Chaos, the 6th book in the Wheel of Time. This is the introduction of the Black Tower, seeing what Taim has been doing with these fellers, seeing the true power the Ashamen have, and Rand finally seeing the true power that the Ashamen have, even though he doesn't use them properly sometimes. It really makes me blow my mind. It really wants to blow my mind. And this is where Egwene is finally named Amerlin's seat, but more they're trying to control her, obviously, but this Egwene, people, she ain't gonna be controlled by anybody. She's just not, okay? And the growing, beautiful relationship between Min and Rand is my favorite relationship, like I've already said, and I love seeing it grow in this book. Obviously, the best part of this is the Dumais Wells battle. The battle of the Ashamen versus the Shido and the Aes Sedai was so epic, so brutal, and obviously Rand's development from being locked in that box, it truly shines through in the rest of the series. It's obviously horrific what he went through, but it impacts his character so much. And learning that the Ashamen are being created to just be used as weapons, and Ashamen kill. Oh my god, it's a truly impactful battle. I really freaking loved every minute of this book. It's just a great book, and man, it's a really good book. It really makes you push through the slog of the whole series because you're like, I need more of this book. I know eventually it's going to come back. Number 2, what is it? It's The Shadow Rising, the 4th book in the Wheel of Time. Like I was saying with the first 3 books, I was worried that the entire series was going to be that formula of coming together, breaking apart, coming back together to fight the baddie, coming together, breaking apart, coming together to fight the baddie. I really thought that's how the entire series was going to be, and if it was going to be like that, I wasn't going to read it. I was going to be pretty much done. So this book boom, shoots it off in a totally different fucking direction. It feels like Robert Jordan was just like, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And I love it. I love that this book really kicks off the series, truly. Everything that happened. Okay, so this is where you obviously meet the Aiel for the first time. You learn more about their culture. The Aiel culture is really freaking awesome. Love it so much. The whole thing that goes on in Rodion of Rand, seeing the true past of the Aiel, that they were truly tinkers and that they broke all their promises, and obviously that really shakes up the Aiel and changes their lives. And Matt going into Rodion and becoming something more than what he really is was very, very interesting, and I liked that, even though Matt is not high up on my character list. And this is the book that obviously a majority of our characters get their own agency and start to really gain character development in a truly phenomenal and earth-shattering way. This is really, really, really a good book. Love it so much. All right, and number 1 is A Memory of Light, the 14th book in the Wheel of Time. I was so emotionally distraught while reading this book. I have never felt so many emotions from any sort of media, movie, TV, video games, other books. No other book has made me have more emotions, more screaming, more no than this book. The deaths, although I don't think enough main characters died, because honestly, the only main character that died was Egwene. And although I think it is beautiful, I think it really marks her arc. Egwene, to me, has the best arc in the series. And her going out the way she did, taking out Taim, bonding back the threads of the pattern that he has unraveled, it was amazing. It was amazing. I loved her. I loved her determination to say, no, I'm not letting my dead warder, fucking Gawain, I hate you so much. I'm not letting my dead warder stop me from winning this battle. And she doesn't. And Egwene is just amazing. I love her so much. And her death nearly tore my ass apart. I started to tear up. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the death of Egwene. I just couldn't do it. There truly wasn't a moment within this book that I wasn't interested about what was going on. I couldn't wait to get home from work to read it. I was just like, I need to know what happens. I need to know. And it was just so good. I fucking love this series. I do. I love this series. I love this book. The impacts of the deaths, just everything. It was just so, and the ending, it did leave off with so much hope and happiness, bittersweet happiness, and I really loved it so much. I do, like I said, wish that more main characters died, even though that obviously would have been very emotional. I just do, because I think that would be better for this series, but I'm just so interested. Like, I want to know what happens to everybody after the end of this. I want to know which of the women goes with Rand. Does he really end up with men in the end, or does he get to have all of them, or gets to? That sounds so fucked up, but like, does that get to happen for him and for them? And does Nynaeve and Lan build their kingdom up together and make it this grand thing? There's just so much I want to know, and I will never get to know what happens. And does Berelain and Galad get together and make the most beautiful babies the world has ever seen? Probably, but you don't get to know, and it just makes me so sad. So, yeah. So that is me ranking all 14 books of the Wheel of Time. Let me know in the comments below what your ranking is for all of these books. And let me know what you think happens to your favorite character at the end of the series, what their life is like at the end. That's all I got for you guys. While you're down there, remember to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Bye!